My name is Tom Judd, and we are also being live streamed on YouTube, and that's being shared widely. I'm happy to be among those that help host today. And also, in the first half hour or so, several of us will speak about our beloved brother Mario. And then we're going to open the mic for anybody around the world too. And I've gathered, as others have, ACCE, the American College of Clinical Engineering, gathered a lot of responses to the hard news of Mario's death a few weeks ago, and a lot of outpouring of love from ACCE, where he was president a few years ago. I've gathered an outpouring of love, a second bucket, you might say, from clinical engineers around the world who, and I'll share from that. Some of them are online and can share themselves. And so we'll start the first half hour, as I'm saying, some people that particularly knew him well, and then turn the mic open to people from around the world. And to get started, and first of all, welcome. I know there are some, Manuel Castaneda is here, Teofilo is here, and also welcome, I've been saying welcome to people as they came online, Dr. House, John House as well, Carol Cloughs from Kaiser Permanente in the past. So Antonio Hernandez, a particularly close brother for many years. Antonio, why don't you take the mic, brother? And as that is happening, let me see if I need to make sure he can unmute. Yeah, you can unmute now, Antonio. We recognize this is a period of reflection. It's a period of tribute. It's a period of love for Mario Castaneda. And his brother here is online as well, Manuel, and certainly you'd be invited to speak, and there can be translation if you need it. I know a lot of other family members are receiving people from out of town that are flying in today for the memorial service that's at 12 noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. New York time tomorrow. And I believe all of you will put the link, though, for the YouTube of that memorial service, 12 to 1 Pacific time tomorrow, if you are able to attend that. So take it away, Antonio.
Thank you, Tom. Good morning, good evening to all of you attending Mario's ceremony. In memory of Mario Alberto Castaneda Peña, May 20, 1944, October 1, 2022. As Alberto Cortés, singer, songwriter from Argentina, from our generation, said, when a friend goes away, an empty space remains that cannot be filled by the arrival of another friend. That goes for Mario. For me, it's an honor to address this select audience of colleagues, friends, and family attending Mario's remembrance program. I can summarize Mario's life as a gentleman, friend, and a leader with high social sensitivity, committed to helping and guiding those in need. As a true leader, he led by example and was always ready to support and collaborate in any initiative or project oriented to improve the healthcare system, leveraging technology in organized and cost-efficient method. Mario was great on this, and his work in this area is widely recognized. Personally, I met Mario in the mid of the 90s in a technology conference. We were both aware of each other's work through mutual friends. During our conversation, we realized that we have many common elements in our life. Both of us spent our teenage years in the cold and rainy Bogota, the capital of Colombia. Although we did not know each other then, we found that we shared similar experience, which were catalytic for our futures in the world. Particularly, we both had a profound interest in electronic engineering and its application in the medical field. As a result, there was an immediate and a strong bonding that we shared until Mario departed. In almost every one of our long conversations, we spent time reminiscing about our youth and sharing anecdotes. I really will need this very much. After retiring from Kaiser Permanente, Mario continued to be very active, primarily as a consultant and president of his company, Health Tech. He also spent, as he said, 1/3 of his time for pro bono work as a mentor and supported technology developments and projects around the world, especially in Latin American and the Caribbean countries, with emphasis in his native country, Colombia, where he was implemented electronic medical record system and information technologies in health. During this period, Mario was very aware of the impact of the political turmoil in these countries and the negative impact of the operation in the health services. He followed these political changes very closely and always figured out how to mitigate any disruption on the project he was involved in. He was an expert in this area and always found practical solutions to guarantee continuity of these services. I have the opportunity to work with Mario in some of the projects and prepare joint paper for conference and seminars, and I enjoyed very much. Mario's leadership in the field of health technology is well known by all of us that has the privilege and opportunity to collaborate with him. His example and legacy will permanently stay with us and will be reference for the next generations of professionals in technology. Mario was very clear in the need to prepare leaders in our profession. His dream was to create a leadership educational program as a strategy to both evolve the profession and to highlight the value of the profession. As a result, to honor Mario's legacy, the education program in leadership is a topic that can be further developed by all of us. Mario also dedicated part of his time to mentoring young professionals and guiding and supporting entrepreneurs in organizing startup companies in the field of technology. He was committed and worked tirelessly in any activity or project he was involved in. I always admire his energy. It will be very easy to spend all day discussing Mario's work and impact in the field. But today, I also want to remember Mario as an adventurous outdoor person with passion for traveling around the world. This passion led him to explore unique places in Greenland, to walk El Camino de Santiago de Compostela in Spain twice, tour the Kalahari Desert in a hot air balloon, climb Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, and climb Chimborazo volcano in Ecuador. among many others in the world. He was planning to climb the Aconcagua in Chile, but passed away prior to adding this mountain to his record book. However, Mario has already previously climbed the highest mountain, and from there he is accompanying us. During the last years of his life, Mario dedicated his time and energy in the incorporation of ancient and traditional practice of medicine to the current health services as an alternative to many of the more common illnesses in the population. Health and wellness were of main concern to Mario. This work will be continued by some of his friends, mainly in Colombia. I would like to close this remark with some of the Mario's typical phrases that always will be accompanying us. The first one, and he was very emphatic, Antonio, we need to teach these young kids how to monetize their knowledge as a part of the development. Then he said, it's important to educate our colleagues in developing products and services and guide them in the patent process. He was very active, helping, especially in developing countries, to get all those developments with a great possibility to be patented and then marketed them. And finally, and I like this very much, and some of you will identify that, Mario said, life is too short to drink cheap wine. And when a friend goes away, as Alberto Cortés said, he will be deeply missed. Antonio Hernandez, thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Antonio. From the heart for your brother. We love it. We're going to invite Carla Gallegos to speak. Unique, great personal and business relationships. Carla?
Awesome. Caleroy, can you put the graphic back up, if possible? Thank you and welcome, friends and family and colleagues. It's really difficult to do this tribute to Mario. For God's sake, I cried at his retirement party when I had to get up and speak because he meant so much to me. For those of you that do not know me, I've known Mario for 43 years. He has been my mentor, my boss, my colleague, my strategic business advisor, neighbor, and most dearest friend throughout all of these years. I met him in my early 20s when he was managing my 4-year biomedical engineering internship at Kaiser Permanente. He was tough. He demanded excellence at all times, as well as exceptional performance. I didn't even know if I liked him. He reminded me so much of my father that when I brought home straight A's on my report card, always said I could do better. And that was Mario. You can always do better. And I cannot thank Mario enough. He loved clinical engineering, science, medicine, and innovation so much that he gave 1,000% to it and expected the same from anyone else who was in a position to contribute. Because of Mario, I was able to finish the 4-year internship in 3 years and later went into management. That is when our collegial relationship began and the second phase of our relationship. As now part of the executive team, I was the young and very inexperienced one on the team. I learned professionalism and all of its possible attributes by observation and coaching by Mario. Certainly the introduction into Amy and outside of the Kaiser borders into North America and internationally. I remember when we received the first clinical engineering delegation of at least 20 people from Japan, none of whom spoke English. I wondered how we would receive them and how the interpreter would do in our back and forth communications. Surprise, surprise. Mario led the visit and spoke Japanese to them throughout all of their time with us. What a shock. Mario speaks Japanese, are you kidding? That was the first of many surprises. Turns out he spoke English, French, German, Portuguese, Japanese, and more recently was learning Mandarin in Cantonese. Mario was brilliant and very philosophical in his approach, professionally and personally. He was humble and had respect for everyone on any level. We had very complicated, tough jobs at Kaiser, and I'm glad to say that he prevailed to lead the entire enterprise in the clinical engineering department role for many years. I had been out in the vendor world for many years, and when I was at Cisco, I kept encouraging Mario to share his talent with the world. This is the third phase of our relationship. He retired from Kaiser and became the CEO of his own company and never looked back. He has, as Antonio has mentioned, traveled the world and had incredible impact on the professional clinical engineering profession and on healthcare itself. I was fortunate enough to have him involved in many companies that I belonged to as an advisor. Two of those were Cisco and Siemens. He was amazing, and everybody held him with such respect and regard. He had such impact. The biggest reward in my life was having him as my friend. I thank God for this blessing. It is very humbling to even try to honor him for all that he meant to me and my family. God bless you, Mario. We love you.
Thank you, Carla. And thank you also for the guts you have, not only to do what you've done so far in your life and with a lot more to come, but giving the eulogy tomorrow at the memorial service in the midst of family of which you're a part. I'd like to ask Carlos Avila, who worked with Mario for 30 years at Kaiser Permanente, to speak next.
Hello, my name is Carlos Avila. I am also from Colombia, but unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to meet Mario until I was retired from the military as an officer and came to Kaiser looking for a job. I had the opportunity to meet with Mario, Ron Plas, and Gaylord Gordon. The three of us went for lunch, and we talked about our interests, our past, our future, what we were expecting. And all of a sudden, I was offered a job at Kaiser Permanente. So that was the first time that I met Mario. And obviously, I was impressed with all of them, especially Mario for what he was as a person, as a professional. It has been very difficult the last couple of weeks dealing with this loss. I kind of summarize it to me like it's a shadow, that he is a shadow that follows me with all the great memories. But I'm going to focus on a few words that I wanted to say. Today, I am paid tribute to a most precious people in my life, Mario. When I first met Mario in early 1985, he was already a legend as a manager in clinical technology, and he was respected and admired for all. He was a wealth of knowledge, a brilliant very brilliant. Mario was truly extraordinary. His encyclopedic wealth of knowledge, coupled with his personality characterized by friendliness and willingness to help and shine the light to those that need professional support, was a perfect qualification for my ideal mentor. That was Mario. Being in the same industry doesn't always mean someone can relate to you, but he did. He was the wealth of knowledge and support that I desperately needed when I was challenged to assume various management positions. Vividly, I remember many after-hours meetings with Mario at El Fornayo in Corte Madera and El Fornayo in Pasadena, where we met, and he successfully helped me to resolve sensitive customer and employee issues. He was the master at diffusing confrontational situations. He taught me to be careful listener, to believe in my own abilities, and always deliver prompt and reliable customer expectations. And because I complained so much to him about my problems, he always said to me, well, Carlitos, just remember, there is always more in life to be thankful for than there is to complain about. Those always remind me, come on, don't complain, do something. Reflecting over my years with Kaiser Permanente, I came to realize that there was no more important influence on my professional development than Mario. He was one of those people that make me feel welcome to Kaiser Permanente. I will never forget that he took the time to get to know me and helping me feel like I belong there. Mario, your teaching, mentoring were as important and responsible for my success as manager and leader of various projects in Kaiser Permanente. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for giving me support, for continually inspiring me to do my best. You helped me strive for goals, and I found guidance, friendship, discipline, knowledge, everything in one person, and that person was you. I am blessed to have been able to share part of your professional life. I will forever, my friend, my teacher, my mentor, my inspiration, thank you for the invaluable lessons. I will never forget them. Rest in peace, my dear friend, Carlos. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carlos Avila, who I saw everything Carlos was talking about for the last 10 or 15 years of that experience, and true love and authentic brotherhood, as he talked about. Carla, I'm available to speak, but I know one of the key parts, as I've noted about Mario's relationship, his many facets of his relationships with people in Kaiser Permanente, but around the world as well, was the Latin American Association within Kaiser. And Carla, I don't know if Edgar's here. I don't know if you or Edgar want to say some comments about that. How he was mentoring people all the time in that vein as well. So let me see if I can, Edgar, I will allow you to unmute if you'd like. Go ahead. Yeah, we got you.
Thank you, Tom. I certainly was not prepared, but
take your time, brother.
I want to first thank Antonio, Carla, and Carlos for sharing Those words about Mario. I've known Mario for 31 years. First met Mario when I came to Kaiser, and with the background in public health and community organizing, I saw such a void in the voice of Latino leaders at Kaiser Permanente at that time. And I had the privilege of being hired by the then CEO of San Francisco Kaiser Medical Center, Frank Alvarez, who would kid me and say, slow down, grasshopper. Timing is everything. You know, we can't push the agenda of having greater representation at such a big organization if we're not organized nor strategic. And for around a year, he kept telling me about this gentleman across the bay named Mario, who had the same vision that we did. And the timing was not right in 1990, but shortly thereafter, we began to see how important it was that really set Kaiser Permanente in 1990-91 on its course of being one of the world-renowned organizations that have embraced diversity, equity, and inclusion. I had the privilege with Mario, with Michael, Kelly Cintron, oh goodness, Frank Alvarez, Carla, to be the founding board members of the Kaiser Permanente Latino Association, also known as CAPLA, which now after 31 years continues to be a strong voice and advocacy group. And also more importantly, being subject matter experts about culturally competent care to serve the Latino membership at Kaiser Permanente, and not just in Northern California, but this is now spread nationwide. Because we were anew what we then called a BRG, or Business Resource Group, or an employee association in 1991, we were new to that in terms of organizing Latino leaders there at Kaiser. But we hitched our wagon on a number of very successful corporations at the time who were already on this path and had already served as leaders in their respective corporations. Those were to include Apple Computer, PG&E, AT&T, Avon, Hallmark, Coors. These corporations have all have similar employee associations. And once we launched in 1992, Frank Alvarez served the role as just an interim president, but at our first general membership meeting, Mario was nominated and elected unanimously to be our first president. I had the privilege of following shortly thereafter as the Northern California president of CAPLA, and Mario mentored me like he did hundreds of others through this process. Because of that, we realized that if we needed to have a national impact, that we needed to partner with other corporations. So Mario, along with leaders from those other companies, started a national organization called NHEA, the National Association of Latino Employee Associations. And there we met regularly at those corporate headquarters to meet at times with the CEOs and to press upon the importance of including Latino voice in the business strategy that they respectfully had, to build representation like Mario continued to do even after he left Kaiser, and allow us to have a voice that was not just for our own professional development, but more importantly, keeping, in this case, the patient, the member, the customer front and center, that to have a culturally competent company, we must be at the table and participate. And Mario led that in so many ways. The other day, actually, Actually, the day before Mario's passing, Michael Tully and I were on a phone conversation about Hispanic Heritage Month. And we were chatting about those early days and remembering Mario's words of wisdom and always positioning us to be strategic. But we recalled a story that he would say about these two young, I would guess they were officers in the Naval Academy. And on their first day, they were roommates. And they said to each other that from day one, we are only going to say good things about each other when we're among others, so that everybody knows that we're always saying good things about one another and how that other person, each other, are very strong leaders and all the skills and values that they bring. Well, that was a strategy that they incorporated, which led those two early officers in training to excel above their entire class as the top two graduates for that graduation Naval Academy. And the story there is what Mario did so well. The mutual mentoring that I have been a recipient of. Today is a very important healing day for me because grief comes in so many different ways. And I had not grieved until now the importance of a friendship and a mentor like Mario. I want to thank Carla for encouraging me to say a few words. Yesterday, I told her that I couldn't do it. I wasn't prepared. And Tom, thanks for putting me on the spot. But, you know, the grieving process won't be easy. But we all have to go through it. This is something that we can't dance around or avoid or deny. We have to go through this process. And Mario is going to hold us up through this next journey that we have. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing many of you tomorrow at the memorial service that the family is planning for Mario. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Edgar. More from the heart. I want to share briefly about my brother, and whenever I think of Mario, I think of intensity, but joy. Just the love that he shared with other people in so many different ways. One of the things we're doing today is bringing together people from disparate parts of his career and disparate parts of his life, and I love that, and I'll speak to that a little bit. I do want to share, though, because of the joy part of Mario, maybe Edgar, I'm not ready to grieve yet, brother. It's been a crazy few weeks since October 1st, and I look forward to that moment when I will grieve authentically the way you and others have been. I do think of Mario as I begin, and I had our friend Caleroy, that's from the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance that Dr. Yadin David leads, and I'm a part of in the global clinical engineering community, share some of my thoughts, but I'm not going to say all those exactly today. I want to share a bit more from my heart. But when I think of Mario, I think of the parable of the talents. He was given so many talents, and he multiplied them in so many ways in people's lives. He was my colleague when we met in 1990. I want to come back and say something funny about that. He was my boss from 2004 to his retirement in 2011 for Kaiser Permanente Clinical Technology, which many online might have recognized as biomedical engineering. And he became my brother. When he retired, some of us were so happy for him because he'd had 3 full-time jobs at that time. He was still grieving the beautiful Linnea, his wife. He was president of American College of Clinical Engineering, and he was the head of this 500-person group across 8 states in the U.S., probably if not the largest behind the Veterans Administration, the broadest scope of clinical engineering practice Mario was always pushing back the borders. You know, a dozen years later, when we look at what's happening anywhere around the world, it was happening in Kaiser Permanente because of Mario's influence. He just always was pushing back barriers. But I had the joy of visiting with him monthly in those, till I retired in 2016, getting to see him when I came out a week a month, or many frequent calls, and doing a lot of things together, as I'll mention more here in a moment. But just our love, a joint love for the clinical engineering field, the people involved, the work with the American College of Clinical Engineering, and then HIMSS, and increasingly the global community. And while I'm speaking of the global clinical engineering community, some of you online don't know, with Mario's help and Yadin's and others, Antonio's, we are now, and between this IFMBE Clinical Engineering Division that I had the privilege of chairing the last 4 years with Mario and others' help, and the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance, two different entities, different skill sets, but united to serve the global community. We have over 200 countries that are part of our board and collaborator group, and nearly 600 professionals, which include doctors and nurses and health technology leaders of all kinds, clinical engineers, BMETs, however you want to say it, full range. And we've done that all along in partnership with the World Health Organization. But back to some things Carlos was saying, when I joined in 2006, and I'd worked with Mario and George Panagiotopoulos, who we can't not talk about today, our dear brother. When I worked for those two back in 1990, so I was working for a company that HCA that sent me out to Stanford to tell Stanford clinical engineering how to do better clinical engineering. Now, we all have to laugh about that because Stanford's always been great. And now, of course, part of it's led by our dear brother, Alira Kololi. But so Steve Freeman and I knew I wasn't going to teach him anything new. So, but he showed me around that day, and he said, I got two friends I want you to meet that are dear to me in the Bay Area. And that night I met Mario Castaneda and George Panagiotopoulos for the first time, two of my dearest brothers in this world. And then later in 2004, while I was quality director over at Kaiser, Georgia, started working for them part-time as they began to cast a wider vision for clinical engineering for Kaiser Permanente. And it's incredible, 40 hospitals, 600 clinics. I know the numbers are out of date today, and 14 million patients. So Mario cast a wide net is the point of my story. But the other thing I want to say about the global community is that since he has passed, there is an outpouring from the global community. WHO sees the world through the lens of 6 regions around the world, and you can guess what they are, but the Americas, Africa, Middle East, North Africa, Europe, Southeast Asia, and the Western Pacific. And either online right this moment is 5, if not 6 of those regions. And through the outpouring that's come that we can share a little bit later, all of the regions of the world have responded. So Mario's net, his umbrella, spread wider and wider as his life went on. So he was a unique leader in everything he did, rising from a young 20-something Colombian immigrant to the US, to, as you've already heard me say, to the leadership of one of the largest CE groups in the world with the widest scope of practice, then a trusted and sought out advisor for medical device company CEOs, and finally a global consultant, while somehow in the midst of all that, remaining humble, a lover of family, energetic, joyful, and looking daily for ways to serve others. I am going to mention 3 stories and then turn the mic to another. But after Mario, when I first joined Kaiser, some of these stories are coming back at me at waves. He and George put me into the deep waters immediately. They put me in with the surgical core group, and those of you from Kaiser will laugh. And when you think about all those surgeons who are interesting people, right? And as they plan the future of Kaiser surgical healthcare delivery, and the integrated OR and the digital OR. But as I sort of fought through those shark-infested waters where he and George put me to work with those surgeons, Carlos was keeping me out of trouble. Somehow somebody, was mad about something, but Mario was always there to be my safety net. I'm so thankful for that. But so the first story, though, is Yadin and I and Antonio and others had the privilege of working in these advanced clinical engineering workshops. One of those in 1990, Yadin and others started the American College of Clinical Engineering. In 1991, we began to serve the global community and to train first engineers in clinical engineers, biomedical engineers in developing countries in partnership with WHO. But later we added doctors and nurses in these week-long seminars. And Mario and I had done a few of those together. Peru, I know Rosana's on the line, welcome from Peru. But Mario said, okay, I'm seeing how my colleagues train leaders in developing countries around health technologies. What can I bring back? How can I use all of my creativity and bring it back to Colombia? And I know with Antonio and others, he brought this program in 2013 to Barranquilla, there in northern coast of Colombia. And, you know, this is so Mario. It brought together academia, private and public sectors, trying to do innovative healthcare for this key state. And, you know, one funny aspect of that is I bring this particular story to an end, as Mario said, you know, he loved disruption. He loved bringing creativity out of conflict. And in Mario's words, Antonio, he would say, in a tornado, pigs can fly. And, you know, I wish I had that picture to show you. But, and what happened as a result of that? Well, he brought together health technology management and innovation, healthcare leadership, healthcare economics, new healthcare models. And out of that particular event, that group did produce healthcare finance, did produce many positive results in the northern coast there, state and Colombia, and several of them are named. But, you know, Mario was so comprehensive. You know, he said, we kind of apply all of these things to healthcare and, you know, where we are. We got to have the right heart among the people, the right thinking, the right soul, the right social and political skills, the right technical skills, the right integration, the right transfer. Just, that's Mario. I mean, just crazy wide breadth of things that were on his mind. My second story, I'll tell you quickly. In 2015 and 2016, we and other colleagues got to go to China for Global Congress and other follow-up events. And he and I got to go to Xi'an, China, which is the country's ancient capital, home to the terracotta warriors, many of you have heard about. We were invited to help a large pediatric primary care practice come, you might say, into the 21st century with digital medicine tools. We added a hospital administrator colleague to our planning thing, and we wanted to triple access because this particular practice within a mile had 150,000 families. And obviously you can imagine they would be overwhelmed with access issues. But basically Mario took Kaiser Permanente clinical and clinical engineering and health IT design principles into that facility. And we were able to deliver on that, tripling the access for that practice. And interestingly, you might say, okay, we parachuted in and gave them our ideas. Honestly, the Chinese clinical engineers are so sharp, and within a few years, we saw that they implemented that kind of digital tools in one of their major hospitals in the city of Hangzhou. And so it really wasn't about us, but we just got to be there to watch. But one of the funny things is, you know, Mario was always looking for something to climb, right? So we wanted to tour the ancient wall city there, embedded in that larger city, and we wanted to rent bikes for a 14-kilometer ride on the wall, on the perimeter of this ancient city. And of course, you can imagine a few years ago, you can count Mario's age, and there was an age restriction of 60, but he and I just did our own math and subtracted the right number of years, and we had a great ride. It's a little bumpy. But lastly, you know, my last story is, as Antonio's already said, we know Mario liked to test himself in so many ways, and as he would tell me over that good wine, Antonio, that he was really seeking to know the creator in a deeper way. I mean, we all know he'd also, you mentioned several mountains. He'd climbed the 14,000-foot Mount Whitney there in California. He'd done in recent years the pilgrimage in northern Spain, the Camino de Santiago, the Way of St. James, a 30-day hike of nearly 500 miles. He had so much joy when he climbed that iconic Mount Fuji in Japan. And, you know, he had spoken in Japan. He was loved by the people of Japan. That was a natural thing for him to do. But the common denominator of these and other journeys that Mario embarked on was certainly to test himself, but it was to test his own faith and his own journey. Mario, my last comment is he recognized how God had blessed him and was always encouraged to use himself and his resources to serve others. Sorry if I wandered a bit, but are there others? That's kind of our formal thing, and we don't want to keep this very formal. Are there others that would like to comment now? And we'll open mics for you. Yadin, I know you're here and you've been one of our key leaders, and maybe after you, Yadin, Rosanna. Go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. It's a difficult time for all of us. We all lost a very special person. Mario was, in many regards, special, but specifically on the professional and personal models that he presented to us. I feel so privileged that I had the opportunity to meet him. And in today thought processes, what I'm thinking about is the two areas that I felt blessed to know him, the personal level and the professional level. Immediately after the ACCE was created and we were struggling with expanding the membership and identifying the appropriate links with other groups and so on, about 10 years later, Mario was a president-elect, then became a president, then he was past president, and he came up with a new title after that for him, which is a strategic development officer. And that's actually the point where ACCE was changed from a group of friends to a professional association. His contribution of seeing the strategic reasons and ability to move people along, not forcing his position upon them, but rather light the path, educate, and show them all the reasons why this is the right path towards the target. And that's created a much more organized, much more focused professional societies that deliver services throughout today very successfully. Mario has a major role in that. I am happy to say I created, but he expanded that. That was fantastic collaboration. Furthermore, I learned that over the years when we share podiums in a conference of professional meetings, that I will have an opportunity to bring the details, and then he will get the microphone and will make the big pictures so much more clear. And as much as I was trying to do that before him, he always found a way to make it more clear, more strategically focused, and more reasonable why this particular topic we are addressing should be not only a PowerPoint presentation, but a plan for action. And he was able to convince the audience, follow me as a leader, and you will understand why we are engaged and involved in that. Again, I'm blessed to be influenced by that friendship. He was sensitive to the community of professional, community of Latinos, and as Carla said, was impressive ability to understand the different cultures and languages. When we worked in North America, he understood the clinical engineering profession, not only in California, but in North America. When we traveled to South America, he knew the Latino, he understood what different order of things need to take place in order to have full engagement, in order to have making the world better. And then he traveled the world. He traveled the world, many different languages, many different culture. Tom talked about Xi'an and how successful this meeting was. And just think about completely different geographical reason, far away culture, different languages and food, and yet he was able over and over to use the same characteristics, have a clear purpose, negotiate with the audience why this makes sense, and implement a next step that everybody agreed to and was excited to follow. That was definitely his talent. He influenced, he educated, and then you felt like this is your own idea. You felt like you are the part that came up with that. He just happened to be in the room. In 2010, a group called the Biomedical Advisory Council that was sponsored by General Electric met in San Diego. And I started hearing about and presenting with Mario quite often at that time. And I asked him, can you come and join us as a guest speaker and just open the eyes of the group to the concept of serving not just the devices, but serving the patient, serving the community, have a purpose of life, not just a purpose of profession. I have a picture that I found just the other day from that meeting in San Diego. And rather than everybody looking at me as the chairman of the Biomedical Advisory Council, this picture captured the moment that everybody is looking at Mario, because Mario was saying something, and that kind of vibrate in the room. Suddenly it was clear why we are what we are, why we're in the field of clinical engineers. This was October 2010, and it was, again, a moment that I said to myself, how blessed I am that I have this opportunity to learn from him. I could go on the professional level, many more examples, but I want to jump into the other side of him, the personal side. And that's where we start spending more time one-to-one, he and me, talking about what is the world and why we are both widowers. It started when we both lost our wives, and our conversation turned from a profession to friends in similar condition. And he became very philosophical about it. And his point to me was that the world is actually has not changed. We change, we're seeing things different, but it is a present we got because we can understand the community, we can understand family, we can understand ourselves differently. And then he said to me, he's going to take some time to do personal things that he did not do before because it was not on his mind. Now his mind opened differently. Now he's thinking differently. And he said to me, you know, the Latino and the Jewish people shared many values. Among them, and I will never forget it, is that we have much care for each other. Regardless if you know me for 40 years, regardless if you are a family member, or we just pass each other on the sidewalk. This caring is very typical for these two communities. And the other part, he told me, is that both communities are seeing as a reason why they are placed on this planet to improve the world, to make the world better when we live it than when we came on it. And those two things were part of our personal discussions over and over. He opened up, was very frank and very philosophical in our conversation. And I would say that the thing that I'm sorry about is that I did not see early enough that I should take more time to be with Mario than those few opportunities that he gave me. And with that, I just want to end in saying that Mario has many facets, but in spite of being strategically focused, in spite of being a leader, I think the facets of individual caring and pulling with him whoever he happened to come across. It can be, as far as I can tell you, it can be an animal, doesn't have to be a human being. He is going to give you attention, and he is going to make sure that when you part ways, this moment that you share together would be meaningful, would serve something for the rest of the life. So that's the way I feel today. He parted, we are in different areas now, but this moment that we share while he was on this planet is symbolic and important, that I will remember him forever. Thank you all for giving me the time to express that. Mario, be blessed.
Thank you so much, Yadin. Now, when he went all around the world, he didn't always eat everything they had. We know he did his vegan thing even back to the kitchen to get it right, right? But and also I want to affirm something you said. All of what you said is true and from the heart. He, even when Linnea passed and he took on her dogs, you said animals, those dogs came to love him, I'll tell you. So Mario was kind of, you might say, every man's man, in that he experienced so many different parts of life. And I'm saying this as an introduction to the next speaker. Mario was a certified biomedical equipment technician. Certainly, he was one of the world's outstanding clinical engineers, although we never trapped him into getting certified. But he was also an MBA. And so he had that vision across the whole of healthcare, and certainly the whole of healthcare technology. When I joined Kaiser in 2006, there was this guy named Payman Roshan that was in Southern California. Mario, I think, flew down every week to encourage Payman as the leader of clinical engineering for Southern California Kaiser. And then over time, Payman, pretty quickly after I got to know him, he became one of the leading administrators for Kaiser Permanente at the highest levels of the organization. Payman, I know he was a great mentor to you. Would you share a bit? Make sure I open your mic here. Let's see. You can open it now.
Awesome. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for setting this up. It's not a surprise to hear everything we're hearing about Mario. I'll tell you, I am in so much debt for Mario, for everything I have and all the opportunities that have been bestowed upon me. That is, I can never repay him for any of it, and I'm forever grateful to him. He was a visionary, and I have a couple of stories, I guess. One was, as you probably all know, he was a vegan, and every time he would come down, we wanted to go get lunch, and his selection of what he wanted to eat after the Q&A of the waiter and the whole restaurant staff, it took longer than us eating the food. It was the funniest thing every time we went to lunch, and he would ask me, "Where do you want to go eat?" I'm like, "Well, we got to go somewhere that you can eat." And then my first year when I finished our fiscal year, I was so proud. I called him up and I said, "Oh, I saved us $500,000 from our budget." And he scolded me. He's like, "Oh, no, you need to spend it. If you don't spend it, you're going to lose it." He educated me on a lot of those things too. But he was, he thought and had a vision on a whole different stratosphere that sometimes a lot of us had a hard time getting there as fast as he did. But he was a phenomenal leader. He was a phenomenal human being. He was a great mentor. He helped me in a variety of ways, personally, professionally, and a lot of us, every one of us, are truly indebted to his presence and to his support. He will be truly missed. Want to wish the family the deepest condolences, but his memory will always be with us. And I'm always grateful for Mario having been in my life and everything that he has bestowed upon me and my entire family and my career. Thank you.
Thank you, Payman, and you earned it, brother. Jatinder Sharma is wants to. You can unmute, Jatinder. I know you're about to catch a plane. Leader of making medical equipment for the incredible large country of India, and has made an award in Mario's honor. He can tell us about. Jatinder.
Thank you, Tom. I hope it is not very noisy from my side. Apologies for that. I hope you can hear me.
We can.
Yeah.
You're looking good there. Go for it.
Yeah. So I want to say two things. One, in clinical engineering, whatever we see in the world today is all what has been invented and given to patients across hospitals in last 35 or 40 years. In these 35 to 40 years, the world wouldn't have seen a better clinical engineer, a better clinical technology manager than Mario, which truly demonstrates that perhaps so far he was one of the best clinical technology leaders the world has ever seen. Now, I have met Mario in many places from China to Canada, and I have had the pleasure of meeting him in Italy, in Rome in 2019. We stayed in the same hotel. Besides him being a great professional, there is a very silent and firm spiritual side to his personality. For a person who knows so much, for a person who guides so much, for a person who interacts so much, with so much, for him to carry such a sweet smile all the time on his face, always in his life, and to carry a spiritual heart, guiding everyone, including people like us half his age, not just professionally, but also spiritually, makes him an angel. And he would remain an angel for all of us. And that is why the teleradiology center that we have just set up for India, the control room of that center, we are pleased, honored, and obliged to name after Mario Control Room, just in his honor, to remember that he continues to serve as inspiration to thousands of like us, being the light of our lives and allowing us to be good professionals, but at the same time, good spiritual aspirants. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Jatinder. Have a safe weekend. Someone that served with Mario a lot is Rosana Rivas from Peru. Rosana? Let me make sure I got you unmuted. Okay, now you can unmute.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. I am very glad to listen all these memories of Mario. I want just to say he was not just a good friend and an extraordinary mentor and leader. He was able to guide us, the ones who were honored to meet him, to have met him, to guide us to have on how to approach the strategic vision, how to implement the strategic vision every time in the operational issues, in the professional issues, in your daily life, how to go up and see the big picture, no matter what, beyond problems. He inspires me to be better leader, how to be a leader. He inspired me also with the gender restrictions the women used to lead in average. But most of all, as Jitender says, I do agree with his approach. I met him for the very first time in 2006 in the ACC workshop. And then since then, non-stop relationship, emails, visits, phone calls. We were able to keep the relationship of friendship and colleagues among the years. I learned from him how to be humanist. He inspired me to don't ever forget to be better human being. Is the kind of person which has such a class. The knowledge he has, he shared with everyone. The quality of excellence in the profession, he's able to share with everyone. He's able also to push you to achieve goals and feel better leader. Although the idea was from him or a suggestion from him, he made you realize that it was you the one, and the next step will be great, more greater. Last time I met him was in Colombia. Before that, it was in Rome. Before that, it was in Canada. And each time is the same. The high quality person and friend I met, I won't ever, ever forget him. And I am honored to say that I will keep his mentorship and his lessons and try to be better through the lessons I learned from his legacy. Thank you, Tom.
I remember those days, Rosana, in 2006. And I said, when us gringos fly into Peru, you can smile at us and say, yeah, that sounds okay. But when Mario spoke to them, they really got it and they really changed and became better. And it's worked so well for Rosana. She's not only a leader in her own country at the highest levels, but all across Latin America and increasingly across the globe. So another one of Mario's success stories. But now we go to an open agenda time. You heard me, those that were at the beginning, that we envisioned maybe a half hour of, people being called on, but that took 70 minutes because there's so many that want to speak. But I know others of you from different parts of his life, and we're happy to. Okay, Herman Giles, I'm gonna get you going here, brother. All right, you can unmute.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for this opportunity. Probably you read in the email this morning, Calibro shared. We have my respects and our condolences to his family, but Mario for me was not just a mentor, it was a family also. I remember many times, and I wanted to share you how I met in the real Mario in person in 2006 in Washington, D.C. when there was a big flood that night for the AMI conference. And I was staying in a friend's home near there. I had no chance to leave the hotel that night because of the flood. And Mario offered me to stay with him that night. And we were talking the whole night, unbelievable. Then he took his folding guitar and started playing for me in the room. I couldn't believe what happened. That was happening to me with one of the most important leaders in the.
Was it his practice guitar or his real guitar?
Oh man, that was amazing for me. I couldn't believe that was happening. And Mario started talking to me. Well, as Mario, that's faithful, speaking, everything that everybody said before. For me, it was a shock. And then we started a very, very good relationship and friendship, not just with me, and obviously, professional speaking, nothing else to say that everyone said before. But that was one of the most important things that happened to me with Mario, and I wanted to not just remember him, just to celebrate Mario, because all the people here and around the world believes he was a very, very nice person, and well, our family loves him. We have some opportunity to share something in between the families, and we were his sister here in Florida, Flor, and others had the opportunity to meet them, and Mario also helped me a lot to like many others in this meeting and around the world, to start living and working in the USA and so this is my short comment, and again our condolences to his family, friends, and well, this today is a very important maybe coincidence, but believing in Mario, this is not a coincidence. Today's the day that I started 34 years ago in the clinical engineering field. So probably it's a coincidence or not. But thank you.
So Herman, you well epitomize this, both joy and sorrow on all of our faces as we think about our brother with joy, but we miss him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm going to invite Carol Cluffs from KP Biomedical Engineering, Clinical Technology, to share. Carol, we'll make sure that happens easily here. Okay, you should be able to unmute.
There we go.
Yep.
Hi, this is Carol Cluffs. First of all, my condolences to Mario's family and all his loved ones. Been so impressed with everyone's sharing. And I worked with Mario in the capacity I did the finances. And what I loved is that Mario shared everything about the field of clinical engineering. I was not to walk in and just talk about a number. We gave life to the numbers. And that's what was important, is because when you go in to talk about the budgets, the way you quote sold it is because people felt it. And that's what Mario could do. He was brilliant. He was humble. He was a perfectionist. There were long hours. We would be working on things, but he included me in all aspects of the vision that he had to inspire me to do the best that I could to support that goal. So I wanted to share that because I was not the expert in technology, but I hope that I could give him some of the tools to help us, fund some of these activities. He was a wonderful mentor to me. One of the ladies mentioned about women in diversity. Mario made sure that I was held in high regard and was treated appropriately in the department. And he had so many things to do, but he spent that time to take that time with me. So he was a wonderful mentor, giving life to the numbers. And I'll have some more comments for tomorrow, but I just wanted to say that, you talk about how he went on that pilgrimage. I'm envisioning Mario as a pilgrimage for all of us. All he wanted to go the paths to expand his own visions and horizons. If we take the path, the pilgrimage of Mario, just think of the horizons that we can further enhance. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Carol. I remember all those things you were talking about coming true too. Would like to turn the mic to Teofilo, who has been quite a brother to Mario in recent years. Teofilo, I don't know how comfortable you feel. I know you wrote this beautiful, and you can unmute if you like now, beautiful remarks about the last time of his life, and that people can read about that. I wanted to make sure everybody had that, but you're welcome to speak now. And we have those that could translate if you feel like you want to speak in Spanish. So try to unmute now, Teofilo, if you can. There you go. The floor is yours.
Muchas gracias por esta oportunidad. ¿Me escuchan?
And maybe Carla, you can come alongside him as he goes.
Yes, yes.
Ok. Compuse una elegía para despedir a Mario. Espero que puedan traducirla para que la puedan apreciar. Se dice: a tu manera, querido hermano. Hoy estamos congregados en este lugar sacro para despedir a nuestro hermano Mario Alberto Castañeda Peña hacia la eternidad con Dios, hacia insondables lugares en una y en todas las dimensiones donde están los espíritus hechos perfectos, donde no hay dolor y nada se corrompe, porque solo se goza de la paz, amor y gracia del Eterno. Recuerdo como si fuera ayer, cuando el destino cruzó nuestros caminos en una tarde maravillosa en la ciudad de Barranquilla, en un evento de innovación en salud organizado por la Universidad Simón Bolívar, la Cámara de Comercio y el Colegio Americano de Ingeniería Clínica. Allí, en medio de corpulentos hombres, resaltaba una menuda figura liderando la reunión. En un breve análisis del contexto fue donde expresé: este es el jefe de la banda y además por su humor es colombiano. Más aún es cachaco. Fue minutos después cuando en un receso me le acerqué y se lo hice saber. Él se sorprendió y desde allí empezamos a sostener profundas y prolongadas charlas donde surgieron afinidades de vida y de misiones, permitiéndonos profundizar y sostener a través del tiempo y la distancia una amistad entrañable que se convirtió en una hermandad. Estando hace pocos días bajo el solaz en una macondiana cabaña cerca de la ciudad de Barranquilla, frente al mar mirando caer el atardecer, se me ocurrió dedicarle una vieja canción interpretada por Frank Sinatra, My Way, a mi manera en español. En ese instante comprendí que enmarcaba providencialmente aquel momento. Dice: y ahora el final está cerca, y entonces enfrento el telón final, mi amigo. Lo diré sin rodeos, hablaré de mi caso, del cual estoy seguro. Desde que te diagnosticaron estuvimos mucho más cerca que antes, profundizando en nuestros momentos y acciones de vida, día a día, resolviendo cada desafío. He vivido una vida plena, viajé por todas y cada una de las autopistas y más aún, mucho más que eso, lo hice a mi manera. Todos los que tuvimos el honor y el placer de conocerte y tratarte, sabemos que amabas y disfrutabas la vida con plenitud, que tus viajes y experiencias hacían parte de un deleite máximo para ti. Arrepentimientos he tenido unos pocos, pero igualmente muy pocos para mencionarlos. Hice lo que tenía que hacer y lo hice sin ninguna excepción. Reconociste tus faltas y soy testigo de que hiciste todo por enmendarlas hasta el último momento de tu existencia y día a día a través de esta. Planeé cada curso trazado, cada paso cuidadoso a lo largo del camino y mucho más que esto, lo hice a mi manera. Casi no hubo nada que escapara a tu planeación y análisis en tu vida. Ser detallista fue una de tus mayores virtudes. He amado, he reído y llorado. Tuve malas experiencias, me tocó perder y ahora que las lágrimas ceden, me parece todo tan divertido. Por dura que fue tu última prueba, nunca perdiste tu buen sentido del humor. ¿Por qué? ¿Qué es un hombre si no lo que ha conseguido? Y si no es así mismo, entonces no tiene nada. Decir las cosas que realmente siente y no las palabras de alguien que se arrodilla. Mi historia muestra que asumí los golpes y lo hice a mi manera. Cual espartano resististe con estoicismos los embates de tu brutal enfermedad y con dignidad diste los siguientes pasos. Dios solo permite a sus mejores y elevados hijos dotarlos de la gracia, dones y virtudes necesarios para ejercer su voluntad a través de ellos y con eso dejar huellas indelebles en los corazones para continuar obra cuya misión fue y será trabajar por la salud y prosperidad en las comunidades, en nuestras áreas de influencia a través de liderazgo, innovación e integración de modelos y servicios de salud con alto impacto social por medio de la medicina integrativa. Seguiremos tus valores que fueron faro en tu vida: verdad, honestidad, integridad, trabajo en equipo, lealtad, solidaridad. Sí, fue y será a tu manera. Hasta luego, hermano. Gracias.
Thank you, Teofilo. And your words are beautiful, and they are in a document we sent out that came from folks around the world. I'm going to read just the end of it in English. Very poignant remarks, very close brotherhood. God only allows his best and highest children to endow them with the grace, gifts, and virtues necessary to exercise his will through them, and will leave indelible remarks on hearts and minds to continue work whose mission was and will be to work for health and prosperity in the communities in our area of influence through leadership, innovation, integration of health models and services with high social impact through integrative medicine. We will follow your values that were a beacon in your life that included truth, honesty, integrity, teamwork, loyalty, solidarity. Yes, it was and will be your way, as the song went. See you later, brother. Thank you, Teofilo. Who would like to step up? One colleague that asked to speak and to focus on the fact that Mario cared about people from all places, low middle income countries. LMIC has certainly been the focus of our global community, and Mario exemplified that. And Anwar Hossein from Bangladesh, currently at a training in Germany, wanted to share. Anwar, I'm unmuting your mic. You need to unmute it as well.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you. I think you unmuted yourself. You muted yourself again. Try again.
Okay. Now?
There you go. Yeah, it's good.
Okay. I have no enough sentence to express the life story, contribution, and leadership of Mr. Mario. It is a saddened days and events for us. I have been hearing all the speech. I have no enough idea, but I get the good feedback from Mario. While I started my journey in the clinical engineering, so I searched a lot of books. Mario Alberto, the Millennium Goal of Clinical Engineers. That was pleasant and helpful. So, my soul is empty, no words to express. Last is not least, we are committed, keep his memory, and the outcomes will be goes toward while we keep his excellency, leadership, and other activities. We are the man, we nobody stay in the world. So soul is departed from the world. So in this regards, I wish to say with my soul and crying eyes, and I am very much tired to know all the events. So we are committed to continue his memory and continues the leadership and clinical engineering activity. Then I believe his departed soul will get excellent feedback from us. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom Jod. Very much happy you give the scope 2015 in China to introduce clinical engineering. So now I am working hard with you. So I have no word. May Lord give a peaceful place and happiness place where is no sound for the departed soul of Maria. Thanks to all to give a time from our lower middle income sources, Bangladesh.
Well stated,
Hey,
Anwar.
Lord.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Lord.
And Anwar has done a great job leading in Bangladesh in Mario's model, and created a national society and working with his Ministry of Health, and they're raising the ranks of clinical engineering there. We're thankful. Miss Eva Zaluska from Poland, how did I miss you? You're up.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to mention my meeting with Mario. It happened only once when I met Mario personally. Of course, I knew him from our online meetings, but during conference, it happened that we have sit side by side in a bus, taking us from conference seat to global summer, global summit place. And after a few seconds, we were talking as I felt as old friends. And it was very interesting discussion on very universal issues and very private issues and about philosophy and about life. And Yadin has expressed it perfectly, that this only one meeting was very meaningful. And I remember this meeting and this discussion for just, I think, 4 years. And it was very important for me. So as Yadin has expressed it very, very perfectly, Mario was a wonderful person, very gentle and very polite, and he take care about this meeting, about this discussion. Even we have met only once, and it was very meaningful for me, and I am very grateful that I had a chance to spoke with Mario, and I remember this discussion very well. And I am very grateful that I had the chance to meet Mario, and such wisdom and wonderful person. And I will remember this discussion for many years more. So thank you, Mario. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eva, from Poland. And back to Kaiser Biomedical Engineering days, I wonder if Tom Long would grace us with a few words. Mr. Long. And of course, I'm putting you on the spot, but you're used to that, I think. And I'm going to try to unmute you here. You can speak, Tom, if you, there you go.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
I met Mario when I was hired into Northern California Clinical Technology in 1977 and worked with him until he retired from Kaiser.
Wow.
Mario was such a mentor to me. I was sitting here thinking of one of the interesting stories. I was hired into clinical technology with a specialty in laboratory devices, and Mario was one of those people who went with me when I was learning what Kaiser was all about and what the devices were. And I remember going with Mario on service calls, and being the newbie, I always wanted to be as prepared as possible for whatever might happen. So in those days, we had parts kits that contained almost anything you would need to do a repair. And I would take with me, on this particular occasion when Mario went with me to teach me how to do the device repair, I took 2 or 3 parts kits with me. And when we got there, Mario said, "Oh my gosh, you come way too prepared for what we should expect when we get here." And he showed me how to do the work that needed to be done and how to interface with the customers. And it was through his tutelage that I learned how to do so much troubleshooting over the phone and interfacing with people in order to do the job we needed to do. And it was more what you could learn from the people who worked with these devices day by day, more information you could gain from them than you being on site and being in front of the device. I certainly had the opportunity to benefit from Mario in more ways than I knew, because the other mentor I had while I was at Clinical Technology was Carlos Avila. And Carlos brought to me what he learned from Mario as well as his experience. And Mario's knowledge and personality and everything that he was about continued to flourish in the organization through the people that he mentored and touched. And it's an amazing opportunity to continue his legacy for all of us as we share with those people in our lives, personally and professionally, all of the things that Mario taught us and his philosophy of life. And there was one instance where Mario would share about his love of skiing, and there were many people in the department who got to travel up in the mountains with Mario and ski with him and share their stories of what fun it was to engage with Mario in a non-business environment. We just all have been blessed by what Mario brought to our lives.
Thank you, Tom. Well stated, brother.
Thanks.
I want to give a shout out from some people. One who's been through another tropical storm / hurricane. Elliot is with us. I think he's had a hard couple days. He was sharing earlier that Mario is such a great friend and inspiration. This is Dr. Elliot Sloan. And he went on to say, may he rest in heavenly peace. He will be sorely missed. And Elliot, one of the clinical engineering leaders in our country that Mario and I engaged and brought out to the Garfield Center years ago as Kaiser was entering the digital age, and inspired us all himself. Another one is a familiar name to the Kaiser Clinical Technology, and that's Fred Hosea. And many of you knew Fred Hosea, working, when I joined Mario and George, often it was Fred was our fourth wheel, and we did a lot of scheming together about a lot of things. Fred, moved after he retired from Kaiser to Ecuador. He's a bicultural individual. He has some notes in these documents we sent out. I'm going to take a quick look at them with you. But he has just moved in November to Stanford in a research position, because Fred's one of our crazy smart friends and clinical engineering buddies. And Fred says Mario was a quiet hero of the profession. He helped stabilize and guide the complex transition of regional biomedical services at Kaiser through Y2K, through the introduction and integration of regional biomedical infrastructure with national IT, the creation of the National ClinTech program with its own national VP. He was unfailingly kind and patient under circumstances that would have driven others into bad places. He used his influence to promote women into positions of responsibility and leadership, and strengthen the role of professional associations, both nationally and internationally, helping to elevate the visibility and importance of our field as critical professions for modern healthcare. His international liaisons helped laid the groundwork for integrating biomedical and clinical engineering professions with WHO and the International Labour Organization. His unexpected passing leaves us with a deep sense of personal loss, a cruel loss, but with a moving example of what one very good person can do with his career and his steadfast aspirations for health for all. With this gentle example of quiet excellence, we are grateful and will carry his memory as a compass in the day and a lantern in the night for our own strivings for a humane life well lived. Hail and farewell, good friend. In the documents I sent out, there's about, both from US based and around the world, as we've already stated, there's about 60 different inputs from different people from, as I mentioned earlier, all the regions of the world. Several clinicians among them, physicians, doctors and nurses, but I know Curtis Dykes from Kaiser Permanente was online with us a bit earlier. Dr. John House, a physician from Kaiser, was online a bit earlier. Just to give you a taste of the physicians around the world that loved Mario and were involved with health technologies. There was also one from Chad. If you don't know where that is, that's somewhere in Central Africa, and another one from Russia. So Mario was universally loved around the world. I don't know if there's others that want to make input. I'd love for Carla to sort of take us home here on this meeting today.
Well, I was asked by Dr. John House, who led the patient monitoring strategy across Kaiser Permanente for 20 years. He asked me to say his words that describe Mario are honesty, integrity, and a true Hispanic gentleman, a great friend, and a great human being. And I will say the last, 8 years, Mario and John and I had a chance not only to be involved, in the professional world internationally, but also, spend a lot of time together, having great dinners, spending time, having great wine, great conversations, always, sharing our love of the profession and our stories and just our companionship. I also wanted to read what Curtis said. Curtis Dykes was one of the clinical leaders at Kaiser Permanente through the IT organization. Originally, he was the co-leader with Dr. Marilyn Chow, who managed 55,000 nurses across Kaiser Permanente. And this is what Curtis says. Mario was a lovely person, first of all. He was also a visionary on top of a true leader. I met Mario many years ago, Mario leading clinical technology and him, Curtis, on the nursing and care delivering side of Kaiser. He said he had a great first connection with Mario and then a great relationship. They accomplished many great things together at Kaiser with his involvement further across the organization. Mario later pushed Curtis to get further involved in the ClinTech world externally. He became the first non-biomed engineer as a nurse to sit on the Kaiser Engineering Certification Committee. It was great fun and an additional integration in and amongst healthcare thanks to Mario. He really enjoyed the friendship. We'll always remember him fondly. Rest in peace, Mario. I thought I would also mention something very personal. My husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer 6 years ago. It was very difficult, challenging. They gave him very little hope to live. Mario was always here for Mike. He visited often. He gave us the keys to his home. Mario's home was only 2 blocks from the oncology center where my husband had to get 6 hours of, the treatments and the therapies every Friday for years. Mario was there through all my husband's surgeries. He was there and supportive for the bone marrow transplant. And he became one of my husband's very best friends. And so, he was so involved with so many people in such a heartfelt and spiritual way and caring and committed way. It's hardly impossible to believe that he had so many friends. How could one person touch so many people? And we're all so blessed, and I'm really thankful for all your stories and sharing today as well.
Even though this is being is out on YouTube at the same time, we will certainly share the recordings from whatever platform. And so thankful for your joining us. We're all, I think, still in shock and beginning to grieve. And I'm thankful for that process, for this person that meant so much to us for so long. Thank you for joining us today. Bye for now.
Thank you.